Hey guys, Michael here with another mod showcase slash discussion, but this time it's actually a double dose of mods. There's actually two mods together that I'm going to talk about. Those two are Age of Mox Tomb Kings Extended, and I'll get into a lot of detail on this one in just a moment. And then the second one is Tomb Kings Reworked, Awakened in Glory by Katsuko. I'm actually going to talk about this one first. It is the shorter of the two. I'm going to read a little bit from the mod description, and then I'm going to spend most of the time in game actually showing you what these mods do. But the reason for choosing these particular mods is because I wanted to look into doing a Tomb Kings campaign, a Let's Play on this channel, and I'll go ahead and give you a spoiler. I am starting one. You know, if you follow the Let's Plays, you can have that to look forward to. If you want to see some of these mods in action, you can certainly check that out. But in any case, the reason why I'm looking into these mods is because obviously the Tomb Kings haven't gotten much of a rework. They've been a little bit neglected for a very long time, and it's been requested that I play the Tomb Kings, but also, you know, choose a faction that has some interesting mechanics. And I thought, well, gives me a good opportunity to come out and actually look at some of the thematic mods out there that might add some additional mechanics for the Tomb Kings. And I'm happy to say the long and short of this is that these two do exactly that, and they do work well together, which I'll go ahead and dive into. So the TLDR version of this video, if you're not interested in all the details, that's going to be in the rest of the video, is give it a try. I recommend it. It does indeed add some interesting little twists on the Tomb Kings. The main thing that you're going to want to keep in mind is if you want a more difficult campaign, you may want to leave off the Tomb Kings Reworked Awakened in Glory mod here. It does make things considerably easier. If you want a little bit of an easier time with the Tomb Kings, and let's face it, I think for a lot of us, one of the reasons why we tend to stay away from the Tomb Kings is because of that time cap that you've got before you can recruit your second army at the beginning of the campaign, and then another one before you can recruit the third army. I mean, it's just a little bit painful going through those early turns. I even like things really difficult, but it's just, yeah, it's a little bit painful to have to go 15 turns before you can even recruit a second army. It makes sense within the, you know, the context of how the Tomb Kings do their recruiting, but yet, yeah, it's a little bit, it puts you behind the eight ball, particularly when you play on a higher difficulty setting. But anyway, so this Tomb Kings Reworked is basically going to address that problem quite easily by giving you access to a +1 army capacity right out of the gate. And so that is certainly huge. It probably takes the Tomb Kings from being underpowered in the first few turns to being a little bit overpowered in the first few turns. But like I said, I'll show off a little bit of that in action. But let's talk about the other things that this mod does, because it does some really good stuff. So we've got and he mentions right here that it is fully compatible with Tomb Kings Extended. So what's included is also the lore of Nehikara is rebalanced. The original magic was weak and nearly unusable. Now it's viable, tactical, and worth using without becoming overpowered. I will willingly admit that since I hadn't played the Tomb Kings in such a long time, I'm not an expert on the Tomb Kings. I will trust what he says right here, but I'm not familiar enough with the old lore of Nehikara to really say that that's definitely true. But again, I've got no reason to doubt it. The technology tree has been tweaked. Now, this is research time and costs have been adjusted for smoother progression. Bonus values remain untouched for now, but may change in future updates. Again, I should mention this is the same author that this is Katsuko, the same author that did the auto-resolve mod that I just did a showcase of just a few days ago. We know that he is active, which is always a very good sign when you're looking at a mod and the mod author is answering comments and is, you know, keeping the mod up to date. So again, really, really good to see that. And then finally, buildings reworked, unit caps and construction times are more reasonable now. And he mentioned specifically some buildings now boost hero recruitment limits, and the Bone Giant building grants +1 global unit cap. Then we have the mortuary cult costs adjusted. They were too punishing before. Now they're balanced and better suited to the campaign economy. And then he's got some coming soon right here. So anyway, and he is looking for feedback. And as you can see, his comment is the most recent one here, just a couple of days ago. So very, very good sign right there. So anyway, so it's not only being kept maintained, but it's also probably got some more features that are going to be coming soon. So let's jump from this one then over to the Tomb Kings Extended, because like I said, this one's actually a little bit more extensive here, and again, does some really nice things for the Tomb Kings. I'm not going to read through all this. I would encourage you all to take a look at it yourselves. There's some flavor here. There's a little bit of an overview that kind of explains in a broad brushstrokes what it does. There is a document right here that you can click on that shows you, it takes you to Google Docs, and it has a full description of all the different things that the mod does, which is not what you will get within this description itself. And that's why I'm going to show most of it in game. But one thing that is really important right here is you get legendary heroes, which I'll show you in game. And you also get every single faction, it seems. I tried 2 different campaigns, and every faction does seem as though they get a dilemma at the very beginning to decide whether or not they want to relocate to somewhere else, and I'll show that in action. So anyway, take a look at all this for yourselves if you're interested in it. And like I said, that document right there has got a lot more detail. And again, here we can see that the author is responding to comments and is keeping the mod up to date. So let's go ahead and jump into the game itself. All right, so here we are in Cetra, and as you can see, there's quite a bit here. Certainly more faction effects than what you would get in vanilla. Recommended first campaign, you start in the heart of Nehikara. I'll let you read all that for yourself. You can see the army capacity +1. Bonuses for allegiance, bonuses for chariots, construction time reduction for all buildings, some growth, +2 capacity for tomb princes, and tribute and a bonus to tribute from vassals, lord effects, casualty replenishment rate, leadership aura size, and local recruitment capacity. Then moving on to Katep. Again, all of these have the army capacity +1. This is from the first mod that I talked about, the Awaken To Glory. Adaptable climates, recruit rank for Lich Priests in this case, hero capacity for them as well, right cost, mortuary cost, canopic jars, +10% gain from battles. That's one major change that is being made in the Tomb Kings Extended, is that you gain canopic jars from the battles as well as from the post-battle loot screen. Then our Lord effects, we've got targeting range +25% for spells, character experience gain +25%, campaign movement range, and winds of magic power reserve capacity. Moving over to Khalida, diplomatic relations with all factions, research rate, and some extra for each vassalized faction. Vassalization is a big thing in this mod, Tomb Kings Extended, that is. You've got control bonus, ammunition, hatred of vampires, attrition, -50% for all attrition, corruption, -3, and enabling poison attacks in the Lord's army. Arc in the Black, you've got recruitment of certain Vampire Count and Vampire Coast units, diplomatic relations -50 with Tomb Kings. You've got diplomatic relations increase with VC and VC. Grisly tribute from vassals is +10 canopic jars per turn. Lord effects there, income from raising settlements, passive ability, Master of the Dead, and you can see for yourself it's a nice little regeneration that affects allies. Winds of magic power, reserve capacity, and a melee attack for the Lord's army. And then you'll also, of course, notice that there's 2 additional legendary lords that you can play as. I'm not going to really try to pronounce these guys, but as you can see right here, all of their effects, obviously, they don't exist in vanilla, so all of these are brand new as from the Tomb Kings Extended mod. This one is very much focused on fighting against the greenskins and add some unit capacity for some of the new units that we will talk about in just a moment, and you can see some of them in the starting army as well. Lord effects here, you've got this Osirian's Incantation of Vengeance. It's a DPS here. The passive ability of the curse, which a lot of the legendary lords have. AP weapon damage for certain units and charge bonus for certain units as well. And taking a look at where he is on the map, you can see over here he is still down here in the Great Desert. I don't know what that Great Desert is called for Warhammer Sahara. And then we have Prince Rakaf III. Another one who's off here in the northwestern area of that same Tomb King's general area there. Hidden settlements. So your cities look like ruins, like the Skaven. You've got unit capacity for Cimmerian War Sphinxes boosted, immune to sandstorm attrition, chance of ambushing any enemy army this army attacks. That's all faction armies. Army abilities Sandvale, melee attack when fighting in desert terrain and diplomatic relations, -50 with the faction of Numas. You've got the Xar's Sandstorm, as you can see here, and the Curse, here it is again, plus bonus armor for the Cimmerian War Sphinx, and as well as melee defense and missile strength for all War Sphinx units. All right, so anyway, I just thought it would be helpful to cover all of these here in the main menu, and then let's go ahead and dive into the game itself. All right, so as I mentioned, when you first jump into the game, for every legendary lord, you get this interesting little dilemma that pops up, which gives you an option to either remain where you normally would be or move to a different location. In this case with Khalida, it's to go to Lustria. I'm not going to read through all this flavor text, but it's quite interesting. And as you can see, I went ahead and selected it just to show you what happens here. Now, one thing that's really important is that your missions that you get here at the very beginning are still based on your original starting location. Now, don't do what I do, because I end up actually not realizing that I kept Labaris, and I ended up aborting these first couple of missions, thinking that they weren't even going to be possible to do. No, in fact, you do keep Labaris, and you additionally get a territory over there in Lustria. Which is why you get the +1 army as well, so that you can actually fight in both places. So just be aware of how that works. So jumping back over here to our new location, as you can see, we are also starting out at war with a minor Tomb King's faction. They have 2 settlements to our 1. We're in the Copper Landing here. They've actually got a pretty decent garrison down here, and spoiler alert, if you try to attack that garrison with your starting army, it's a little bit stronger than your starting army is. So I actually end up recruiting a few extra units before I attack it. But anyway, so that's the layout of what happens if you come over here into the Copper Landing. Now, something else that's really important to keep in mind is that both the Tomb King's Extended mod give you an extra army when you choose to go to the new location. So you don't get it if you remain where you normally would start, but you do get +1 to your army capacity if you do choose to relocate. Additionally, the Awaken to Glory mod gives you +1 unit capacity, and then of course doing your research here is going to potentially get you another, or is definitely going to get you another one as well. So what that means is you're actually going to start, if you choose to go to the new location, you're actually going to start with a 3 army capacity, which is obviously quite a lot for the way that the Tomb Kings do their recruiting system. It's very, very overpowered if you do decide to do it this way. Maybe you want to offset it by cranking up the difficulty in other ways. Then an additional legendary lord that they can recruit as either their second army or at any point in time. So just a little bit of additional flavor there for the additional legendary lords. I assume they come from the lore, probably from the books, but I do not know that for sure. And each of these legendary lords, of course, has their own unique strengths. Taking a look at the building browser, you can already start to see all of the additional units that have been added by Tomb King's Extended. I'll just scan over them here fairly quickly here so you can see what I mean. But yes, lots of additional units to supplement the ones that the vanilla game has. And all, of course, nice and thematic, or at least it seems that way to me. Okay, another thing that I want to mention is that there is an upgrade system similar to the scrap upgrade system for the green skins. Now, in this particular case, I like it because it's using canopic jars. It is not adding an additional currency. If it was doing that, I would probably feel like it's overpowered. But since it's using canopic jars, and it actually uses a decent number of them, and that's already a scarce resource for the Tomb Kings, it just leads to more interesting decisions about what exactly to spend your jars on. So I like it. They don't appear real overpowered to me, although they certainly look like they're worth taking. But when you factor in how expensive they're going to be and what else you would be using your canopic jars on, I think it makes sense. I think it's a nice additional layer of to the flavorful mechanics that the mod is adding. And then one thing that I do have to mention is I found a bug in both campaigns that I played, which is I use the save camera settings mod, which does give you an option to set those a single time using the mod configuration tool, and it does not seem to work when I use the Tomb Kings extended mod. It does appear that for whatever reason there's some type of a conflict, and so I just had to manually enter in my camera settings. Obviously not a very big deal, but it's something that I did want to point out. Okay, a couple more things that I want to point out then. In the second campaign that I played, this one is a Cetra campaign, and this is the one that I'll actually be turning into a Let's Play on the channel. So that should drop here. The first episode of that should drop pretty soon. The first thing that I wanted to mention, again, just show you how I had to change the camera settings once again in that playthrough as well. So I'm pretty sure this is going to happen every time, but like I said, it's really kind of a nitpick. Not exactly sure what the conflict is there. It's just a weird one. Hopefully, it's the only glitch that I noticed, other than some grammatical mistakes in some of the flavor text. But other than that, it looks like a pretty clean, pretty well polished mod overall. I did want to actually read something. I want to jump back here into the mod page itself and read something where it mentions the suggested play settings when using this mod is hard, hard, or very hard, hard, which is what has been tested the most. If you normally play on normal, I would recommend at least increasing this to hard when using this mod and playing a Tomb Kings faction. The mod is fully compatible with tabletop caps as well, which is recommended. So the reason why I wanted to mention that is because this is based on just the Tomb Kings extended mod, and once you add in the Awaken to Glory Tomb Kings rework as well, and you get that extra +1 army, this is, I believe, going to be something that you're going to want to bump up to an even harder difficulty. So anyway, just wanted to mention that. And so finally, I wanted to show what it looks like when you remain in place instead of relocating. So as you can see, since we remained in place, we did not get the +1 army capacity from the Tomb Kings extended mod, but you do still get it for the Awaken to Glory mod, which means you're going to immediately from the very first turn have that army capacity of 2, and you could get yourself a legendary lord to go along with Cetra in this case. I don't want to give too much more away about this campaign because I want to encourage people to actually watch the Let's Play. But it has certainly been an interesting experience. I like the additional units. I like the additional mechanics. I like the having even more things to spend the canopic jars on. And I think at the same time, it really makes sense to give you canopic jars as just regular old loot from winning battles, in addition to instead of only getting it when you choose the proper looting option from the screen, because you're going to have more need for those canopic jars because of all the extra things that you can use it on. But yet what you get after battle is not overwhelming. It's not going to make it a resource that is going to ever feel anything but scarce. Okay, so like I said, that's my basic overview of it. I will be continuing to showcase it in the Let's Play, so if you're interested in them, I would encourage you to check that out. But also, of course, if you have any experience with either one of these mods, please feel free to go ahead and leave your comments in the comment section of this video. And also, if you do try out these mods for yourselves, please show the mod authors a little bit of love as well. I have so far really enjoyed. I've probably put maybe 6 or 8 hours into the campaign with these two mods, and I'm so far really quite enjoying it, but obviously I haven't gotten real deep into the campaigns at this point. So, all right, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. I think this has probably been enough to at least dip the toe in the water as to what these two mods can do. But like I said, please leave your own feedback either on this video or on the mod pages themselves. And I will go ahead and say thank you all so much for watching and listening, and I will see you in the next video.